Welcome back. Welcome
Welcome
back.
back.
Back. So we're back at it again, but we're
Mm-hmm.
back at it to let y'all know. Was it Saturday, Sandra? Saturday, new laws come into effect.
Florida about to get hectic.
Woo,
Y'all
Lord.
better watch y'all mouth. Be careful who you decide to engage because it may not be a good idea to engage
Mm-mm.
with nobody starting Saturday.
Starting
Yeah, I think
Saturday,
that was
yeah,
just a case
get
out of
around.
Illinois where this dude like started fighting this woman in a restaurant
Oh
and
yeah,
she told her
girl.
son to be like, yo, go shoot him. So
Listen, and some
Florida
more.
might be that.
We could talk a little bit about that because there's some more came out of that. Apparently, his girlfriend was egging him on to punch the lady in the face. Listen, and I think there's some sort of lawsuit. I think the wife, the woman who was assaulted, want to sue and said if it
The
wasn't.
city for arresting her and stuff like that.
But also,
I
she wants
mean,
to civilly sue the girlfriend, saying that had she not been egging him on,
yeah,
uh,
she
but
wouldn't
I'm
have to
just saying,
traumatize her son by having him shoot a man.
girl, that's a whole nother different conversation. But here in the state of Florida, we have permitless carry come Saturday, so I'm gonna
And,
need
and and the tricky thing about that is I think people gonna misunderstand what that means. That I think
absolutely.
folks are gonna start thinking like they don't need to go get no license, to get no gun and all that kind of stuff. So,
That's not
you
what that
know,
means at all. You can't even leave your for those who have permits or who don't have permits, you can't just leave your gun lying out. You can't just it just can't be just there.
it's not open carry.
It's not open
It's
carry.
not open carry.
And I
It's not
think
the Wild Wild West.
it's y'all lane. But I think the legislature has done a good job of making it look like we got permitless carry, we could do what we do.
That it means open carry is what you mean?
Yes. I
Okay.
think the language didn't make it. No, the language is clear, but the language wasn't forceful in
Hmm.
terms of
And so those of you who are felons, because you
yeah,
don't need a permit, that still don't mean now you can go get a gun,
it
right?
doesn't do
Because it
that at
still
all.
have
It
exceptions
doesn't do
for
that at
people who
all.
couldn't normally own a weapon. It's
Correct.
not like they can go get one now. So
Correct.
hope
Yes.
one sack.
Hope you understand that. Please also understand
Yes.
that now businesses, you have the immigration law SB 1718. Businesses who are hiring undocumented immigrants, also hospitals that accept Medicaid must also ask patients of their immigration status. So you're an immigration attorney, Sandra.
Yeah, and I actually did a panel on Wednesday on the business side of the immigration law. And
Hmm.
I've done a couple before on, what, the fears that people have. So yeah, I have, I'm not as like, I should be better versed in it, but I am, maybe I might have a little bit more knowledge than some folks and stuff like that. So
Yes.
the part where you talked about the employers and the e-verify.
Hmm.
So typically when a person go get a job right now, they do this I-9 verification, like when you go do the application, they have like, okay, if you're a United States citizen and you have a passport or a birth certificate that say that you're a citizen, they can verify that you're eligible to work with that. And then if you don't, and you go and you do the B and C category, so say if you're a permanent, you got to show like your residency card and a social security card or something like that to show that you're able to get employed. So the I-9 verification is more reliable. E-verify is a system that immigration uses, and half the time it's wrong. Most of the time it's not even working, right? So it's interesting that that's the system that Florida chose. Well, Florida's governor through the legislator chose to have people verify whether or not somebody's able to work for them in a very unreliable system. And also, the other part of it is like the department that's going to be in charge of like enforcing all of this stuff with the Medicaid is the same department that was responsible for unemployment benefits during the pandemic. We all know how that went. So yeah, it's just going to be a whole
That
hot
whole
mess.
system was trash.
The whole system was trash. It's going to continue to be trash. But the other thing that we want people to understand too, so like if you are already working for your employer prior to July the 1st, this does not apply to you. It's anybody that they're going to try to have work for them starting July the 1st moving forward are the ones that's going to be impacted by this new law. And then even when they talk about like, oh, if the employer that has 25 or more employees doesn't use that system and they're going to have some fines associated with that. That's per day. I think it's like $1,000 per day. That's
Ooh.
going to happen after several warnings, and I think they don't get into that until like a couple of years in.
Mm.
So even that part of it, that's going to be litigated. The other one that concerns folk is that we don't want people to not go seek medical treatment. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you, because they say like, oh, if you go to the doctor, they have to ask you your immigration status. The doctors cannot refuse you treatment because you refuse to answer that question. And even if you're undocumented, they have to provide you treatment. So what one of the things that the activism community is asking is that when people go to the hospital, mean anybody, even an American citizen, and they ask that question, they want everybody to refuse to answer that so that it
Mm.
becomes like they're not able to get data on that information. All right. So in terms of that, please don't not go to the hospital. No, please don't not seek treatment because you're worried about that. Now, so one of the things is that they're worried about the Medicaid dollars going to undocumented. First of all, most of the money that comes from that goes towards Medicaid is federal dollars. Some of it is state dollars, but most of it is federal money. It's just again one of those things where the governor who wants to run for president is out here gaslighting folks, and he's just more talk than anything. That particular part of the legislation, the American Medical Association wants to litigate that because that what he put in that legislation is inconsistent with the Hippocratic oath that doctors take, and for them to always provide care and don't do harm and all of this, right? So the medical community is going to litigate that issue because it's inconsistent with what it is that they're trying to do. There was another bit of legislation that he was trying to pass where if the doctors or the nurse don't have like some sort of religious belief against like a person, they don't have to provide them care. Like say for example, if a nurse believes because they're Christian, they're not supposed to engage or interact with somebody that's homosexual or something like that, they can refuse them treatment. That part of the legislation was pulled because the medical community is like, y'all better get the F out of here with that foolishness. Okay. So at least that part of the legislation will not go into effect July the 1st. But again, that's just an idea of like the crazy that was happening in Tallahassee. And I said all that, and then there's Nardik has a couple of things that she want to talk about. But one of the things that I want to press upon folks is to say we don't have to live like this,
We
right?
sure
We
don't.
absolutely don't have to live like
We
this.
sure do not.
Understand that all of these people that are making these laws are people that were voted in, right? And just as easy as they were voted in, they can be voted out. Members of the House of Representatives, both on a state and a federal level, are elected every 2 years. Okay, so that means in 24, because they were so irresponsible with the power that they have right now, don't elect them people and campaign actively against every single one of them that voted on this nonsense. So all the stress that we're dealing with and how we're living, we do not have to live like this because we're the ones that give those elected officials power. And just the way we went out and gave it to them, we can take it back. So
Exactly.
please, we need people to just get involved, vote, register, encourage people to vote so we can turn this craziness around, because this really isn't sustainable to me, because people are stressed out every day over just stuff that they really don't need to be stressed out about. I would rather be advocating or have somebody that's in Tallahassee trying to figure out how they're going to reduce the cost of my homeowner's insurance. That's some real stress that I have, that I'm more concerned about with some other stuff. Okay. And that's something that's impacting everybody, no matter your political affiliation. So these are the kind of things that we should want our legislators over there dealing with, right? We had some bridges falling throughout the United States. Like there was an accident, burned down half the bridge in Philadelphia. There was another place, the bridge. You want people to go there that's advocating for infrastructure or for like some for real stuff, instead of things that's like all that's gaslighting, that's divisive, that got people fighting against each other who really shouldn't be fighting, when the things that they're concerned about aren't really the major concerns that they should have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
He said, say that again. We don't gotta live like this.
we
Ms.
don't.
Vibes.
We do not have to live this way. We do not have to.
No, we do not have to live like this.
I think it's important that I don't know, I hear echo, but I think it's important that that we all know that not all we already know the power is with the people, not the people in power. We make we essentially make the rules, but we just do it through a conduit, which is our state, a representative. And if they're not doing their jobs, they don't get to keep it. And the
They
thing
shouldn't get to keep it.
the thing people need to look at too is what they're doing for the collective, not just for a small group of people. Because at the end of the day, we all get affected. Whether however rich you are and however poor you are, we all get affected in some way. I know Sandra mentioned a couple of shows ago about trickle down economics. Trash, not
Not
true.
real. It's not a thing.
It's not a thing, right? So things have this affect us collectively, and so it's important that we do. 2024 is around the corner. I feel like 2024 is already here because we're already in June, right? We're hitting July next week.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that we are on. You look at how people are voting. Look at how we have a super majority in the state of Florida. I mean, we're the butt of people, not really the butt of people jokes, but people are basically saying, "Oh my God, how do these people survive in that state?"
Yeah.
And this is the same man who's running for president.
Yeah.
So let's his wife sent an email because they send out emails to everybody, Democrats, Republicans, whatever. They send anything, whatever. KC, please don't send me no email, sis. You need to talk to your husband about what he's doing and make sure that he understands that he is not the only person that matters. Okay, so before you start sending me some emails, Casey, talk to your man.
And I just want to add on part of what you're saying. Like I went to a conference in Orlando that was with a whole bunch of immigration lawyers, and one of the guys from Arizona was like, "Thank you, Florida, for not making us not be the worst state in America, right?" Because remember Arizona some years ago when they had that Sheriff Joe that was like harassing all these immigrants. I mean, people was dipping out of the state of Florida. I mean, out of the state of Arizona to the point that people were boycotting it and everything like that because it was such a strong anti-immigrant sentiment in that state. And now they like, Florida, y'all got us beat. Y'all out here like how y'all live here. But think of what happened in Arizona, right? Arizona used to be a red state. Okay. And as a result of a lot of that foolishness, that state is practically blue right now, right? I mean, it might be purple. There's still some red parts, but they have like Democratic elected senators. Okay, that Sinema lady, she a fraudster. Now she's an independent and all that kind of nonsense. But the governor of that state is a Democrat. So part of like the people were just like, what y'all doing? So much so that it flipped that state. So that might be the silver lining that comes out of Florida in the crazy direction that the governor has taken them in, that Florida will finally be blue again after a long time. When in the 90s they were, because I remember when Lawton Chiles was the governor. He was the governor of Florida when I was in law school, so that was the last Democratic governor that we had, and he died while he was in office. And Buddy became the lieutenant governor, became the governor then, and it's been Republican since then. But maybe that will be the silver lining that come out of this crazy, because I hope this truly activates people to say, this man is nuts. I got real life stuff going on and he out here worried about nonsense. You know what I'm saying? Like I legit got my insurance is too high problems, and he's over here, worried about people who coming in through the border. And I'm not saying that's not an issue of concern, but what we need to understand is like if anyone who's familiar with immigration law, you can tell that they did not speak to any practitioners, even an anti-immigrant practitioner they didn't speak to, because they have the language all wrong. The stuff they trying to do don't make no sense. Most of the authorities that the governor of this state is trying to take on is federal issues. It's not a state issue. Most of that stuff he can't do anyway, right? So it's really just something to just divide people and to rile up some base that thinks that he really can do these things that he can do. And we don't need that. Like we really got some real problems that the state need to deal with. And and again, in April when we had all that flooding in East Fort Lauderdale, some of my cohort members from PLTI, they were impacted by that, lost their car, place got flooded, all of that. That's infrastructure, right? That's infrastructure. You need agencies that's going to help these folks out, right? That's what people want to be dealing with. And that's something that affected whether you was Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you called it. Right. If you lived on that side of town, you was waist deep in water. You know what I mean? Those are the kind of things that you want elected officials dealing with, instead of like how people decide to live in their house, how they decide to have their families. Come on, that ain't what y'all do.
And to piggyback on what you're talking about, the flood, I on the news on Tuesday, I think it was, what's today? Wednesday, Tuesday. What really upset me was FEMA had this thing where they were giving out money to people who needed it because of the flood. And they put it on the news in the morning. The last day was that Tuesday.
27th.
to
It was the
apply.
27th. It was the 27th, which is yesterday. I think it was
Yesterday.
like yesterday or
And they
something like that.
posted it on the news. And my thing is that why are we not shouting that out to the moon? I was telling my husband, I said,
They should have had a plane flying over the place with the banner.
I said, that pisses me off. How do you not tell everybody that this is there's money in FEMA where you think or whatever? You're gonna advertise it the day that it ends and say, oh, you have up until the deadline today to apply? What kind of wickedness is that?
Yeah.
Broward County Commission. What are y'all doing? How come
y'all? But see, I'm gonna shout out PLTI again. Some of my cohort members that was in our group chat. They were like letting us know. So y'all better get with it.
You know what I'm saying? I didn't know about it until yesterday.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing, Broward County Commission? How is that not something plastered everywhere on the radio? Sending people emails, sending people mail, and letting them know, hey, the FEMA got some money.
Because some people walking around in the community because some folks didn't have it, right? Like, going into the community.
I was upset when I saw that. So upset. So can I just mention something about the permitless carry real quick? So the permitless carry that happens to go into effect in Saturday. It says you legally can own a gun with no longer needing training or a permit to carry it. So you mean to tell me you ain't got to train, all right? And you don't need a permit, but you can carry it on yourself. So,
but even the training that they used to do before wasn't a lot, right? I think it was like maybe 4 hours, 8 hours, or something like that. It wasn't even a lot of training,
but it was something. I'm just saying it was something. But now you're telling any random person who we don't know their mental status. Some people are real angry. Some people, I'm just saying.
But did they take away the waiting period? I think, don't you still have to wait a little bit before you go get it though? I think there's a waiting period or something like that. I ain't trying to make this okay. Only thing I'm gonna say, like, don't be arguing with these people in these streets, y'all. Like, they be like, you win, I'm out. You know what I'm saying? Don't go argue with nobody in these streets.
You just cannot.
No,
you just cannot. You need to hold in whatever you got going on. And I'm telling you, I don't know if it's because of COVID, but people have become are meaner and more empathetic. It's just awful. So I just say with caution, please don't go upset nobody. If somebody look like they want to argue with you, just be like, you know what? You have it. You got it. All right. You got it. And keep it moving. Let's focus on trying to get people elected so we can take away.
Because we don't have to live like this.
Because we ain't got to live like this. Now we're going to be living in fear.
Yep.
Dangerous out in these streets.
Don't cut nobody off. Don't be getting into no conversation. You don't know what kind of day they having. Just leave these. Let's leave like you don't know. So real dumb.
HB 1069 prohibits school staffers from asking students about their preferred pronouns, discussing their own if it does not correspond to the person's sex. We out here legislating pronouns. That what we doing? We out here
so they can't ask, but if the students say, I identify as, I want you to call me this, they have to respect that?
It says the law that says that the person's sex is an immutable biological trait that is false to ascribe to a person. A pronoun does not correspond to the person's sex. It's basically saying you can't, you better not, and don't say nothing.
What you can't ask them, but they can tell you, because I teach, right? And I have students who present one way and identify another, or, when I get the roster, it got a name on it, and that ain't the name that they want me to use, right? So I can't ask them, but if they say, listen, professor, I prefer that you call me, Danny instead of Daniela, I can respect that, right? Without me being in violation of the law?
As long as you don't ask.
No, I won't ask.
You can't say anything. It also makes it HB 1521 makes it a crime to be in the bathroom if it's not the sex assigned to you. So, just so y'all know, it's a crime now. You can't be in the male's bathroom. You can't walk in by accident. Ooh, I forgot.
But sometimes how you know, right? How you know? Because I seen some very pretty transgender folks, and I see
me too.
I see some very handsome ones too.
The question: how do you know? And the question is, and who's gonna? The question is, who's policing that?
What you about to go do? Go in the toilet, be like, "Yo, you facing in the wrong direction." What you about to go do? What are you doing?
To me, it's just to me, you're adding on to those folks who call police for everything, right? We're already in a culture and an environment that is just heavy laden with police activity in terms of calling for any little thing. So now we're just adding on, right? To
That's
that.
gonna be a whole privacy problem because I dare somebody like I want to see the person who's bold enough. Because again, when men and women are in bathroom stalls, we are facing in different directions. Our feet are
Yep.
facing in different directions, right?
Correct.
So you're gonna tell me that when you go into the bathroom, you about to be looking under the stall to see what direction the people's feet is faced in, and then go do what? Call the police and say they was facing the wrong direction and they need to get out of the bathroom.
Sense.
What are we doing?
I'm just trying to figure. I don't know who is policing these people. How is that being done? How are we implementing that? Like, make it make sense. I don't understand. So that's one thing. The next thing is higher education in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am floored. I am floored. I'm about to live as a hermit indoors. Like you said, it's dangerous. It is dangerous out in these streets.
Let me tell you.
I am floored that we are even attacking the things that the Florida legislator is attacking. We have real issues in this.
They legislating like what y'all? Come on.
I don't understand. We have infrastructure issues. I mean, real bad
for real ones. Real things. You know, like go back to that infrastructure. So the bridge in Philadelphia, it was a highway. It was an accident, caught on fire. The whole highway came down. They are so intrigued by the fact that because I think they're at day 14. It might almost be done. They were live streaming the repairs to that bridge because everybody was like, what? You know, the whole bridge went down. Y'all can't get across 95 and Pennsylvania. So this and people don't understand. I'm like, you gotta maintain these things. Like, there's some highways and byways that haven't had maintenance in 50 years. And at this point, some of it you can't fix. You just gotta just do it all over again, right? And the fact that nobody want that, you okay driving across a bridge that's 70 years old that hasn't been maintained, y'all need to stop it.
Listen, we didn't we just have a whole building in South Beach collapse?
No, that was in Surfside. That was north. That was north. Yeah, that was the north end of the Dade County.
Yeah.
Yep.
200 some odd people died.
Yep.
I'm just saying we have real infrastructure issues.
And we had a bridge collapse. Well, that one was an engineering thing by FIU some years ago.
Yes.
That was some engineering.
A brand new bridge.
Yeah, brand new bridge that they knew weren't sound, folks cutting corners and whatever. And so that's how that one went down. But it's like,
I don't understand it. We have real issues, and we're here legislating who gets to go to the bathroom, who gets to call by pronoun. This is what we doing? This is what we doing?
And I understand people's religious beliefs or whatever. All I'm saying is that that's not what the legislators should be dealing with, because we got some real life things that they actually can control that's more important to most folks, because a lot of times most of us don't even have to interact with somebody. And I'm not saying it's like you're avoiding them, but that might not even be something that's in your world, right? But what's in your world is insurance. You got to get out and drive around and in these streets. You want to be able to be employed. Those are things that really affects everybody, no matter what side of the line you're on, whatever your political affiliation with. And this is what we want legislators to focus on, not stuff that may not ever be an issue for nobody. You know what I mean? Like, expanding
the
quote, about 2% of the population at best.
You get what I'm saying?
Whole population. The whole damn country.
Hello.
2%. Okay, so that what y'all got all this law about. You two investing in something that don't matter.
You want to expand the don't say gay from K to 12. All right. My thing is that we don't even have money in education. Education is at the bottom of the totem pole. Right? We don't even have enough money for each pupil in the school. We don't have enough resources, but we out here legislating about don't say gay. I'm confused.
They don't want to do the real
work. The priorities? So this is why it's so important. Let me tell you something. If I don't ever say this and I keep saying it or whatever, voting is your superpower. There is no reason for us to be living in this draconian stage when we're supposed to be civilized people. I'm confused. It makes no sense.
None.
I'm telling you, you run to the ballot box in November 2024. You run
with some people with you, with a whole bunch of folks with you.
With a whole bunch of folks. Bring a trainload of people with you.
Yeah, and that's the other thing.
This cannot continue.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is that they're impacting like voter registration and stuff like that
new
too,
voter
right?
Laws.
Yeah, the new voting laws.
let me tell you something. These new voladars are so so DeSantis has a whole department that handles voter fraud or whatever it is or whatever the case is. So now when the elderly, when they vote together, because when you're an elderly couple or an elderly family, you all vote together, you take your stuff and whatever. Now you're basically telling these people you can't have it in the same envelope, and if one of the envelope, even if it's the right envelope, but there's an extra in there, they're not even gonna count that one either. It's just, to me, it's just the level when they do. Listen, what changed for us is when we started taking our mail-in ballots and we were putting in. That's how we won some elections, right? Now all of a sudden they trying to make it difficult with the mail-in ballots or whatever the case. Mm-hmm. Every time we figure out a way to be present and participate and robust, they find a way change what is it? They change the goalposts. They move.
They keep changing the goalposts, and they change the rules in the middle of the game.
In the middle of the game. And my thing is that they keep complaining and carrying on, and this is where we at. Like today, I saw something about with Trump and DeSantis, and DeSantis was saying something like Trump was coming for all the stuff that he's doing in his state. Like, sir, we don't even listen to those two. Like, don't even make it a thing. Don't even pay attention to them two, because both of them are trash. All right. One is saying Trump is saying he's taking all my ideas and he's implementing them in. Sir,
they want to out ridiculous each other. Y'all have fun. Go do that in the corner. Go out ridiculous each other in the corner.
Yes, in the corner behind.
Go in the corner, go to the cool down corner and out ridiculous each other. Have fun with it. Like we done with y'all.
Y'all need to run to the ballot box on 2024. Run.
Yeah, so Jessica, like, I'm dragging them. Drag them folks. Drag them. Drag all of them.
Your mama, your uncle, your cousin.
Right, and they're even doing stuff with drag shows, right? Like,
here's my thing. I thought we lived in America where we can pick and choose where we go, what we entertain, how we entertain ourselves. These people are minding their business. They're minding their business and doing their own thing. If you don't want to be there, you ain't got to go. You don't.
Most of the time, it ain't free to go. So, I mean, if you choosing to spend your money that way, like, why? That's his business. You need to be glad that people contributing to the economy of the state. Okay, so, like, dude, come on.
I mean, it's just like out of control. It's straight garbage. Jessica asked, "Can you ladies? Can you guys run down who's who?" I'll be honest, I can't keep up with everyone's policies, but I definitely know we need to change. Well,
like, who's who about what?
She's talking about candidates. I think she's talking.
The candidate list is gonna change a little too much before it really matters. But what we don't want y'all to do, what we need y'all to do for sure. Now, let's not talk about what we don't want to do.
Right.
We need to make sure that 45 or DeSantis don't make it nowhere near the White House. Like,
not one. Not a one.
Just make sure. Just keep them two out of our life. And I don't know if there's nobody worse. I really don't know. Like, we just need to keep them two out for sure. And if somebody, more moderate comes around and they make it, I'm going to be okay with that. I just know that we can't have none of them two.
And what I can also tell you is that don't get distracted by them too when they start their shenanigans, right? We need to focus on the candidates that we know that have some semblance of some sense, right?
No, but we gotta make people like not be their fans, right? Because I was talking to somebody like last week, and they were talking about like, oh yeah, I like this about him, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, do you understand that you're not supposed to give petty people power? That's why I was like, bruh, like, think about all the petty people in your life, right? Do you want them to have a power and authority to do anything? Your answer is going to be no all day, every day, right? You cannot give petty people power. Both of those guys have proven that they're very petty. They do things that are counterproductive, and they should not have the highest power that exists in the United States of America. That's what I'm talking about. We got a governor that's fighting with Disney. Let me tell y'all people, there's absolutely nothing about that Disney fight that makes sense. That's
nothing
for the benefit of anybody in the state. I'm telling you. And that man did that because he was in his feelings. Are you serious? You about to go take on Disney that employs probably half of Orange and Osceola County. You understand? Because you in your feelings about stuff, you cannot give petty people power.
In his own words, he's like, we shutting them down. Oh, really?
No, he gonna bankrupt the state of Florida is what he gonna do.
And my thing
is, you know that 80 million people go to Orlando every year?
Well,
80 million.
and not only
Go to
that,
Disney.
but,
What
but
are you doing, sir?
the worst part about it is the people that
It
live
is $200
the
per
people that
person
live
to
in
go
that
up in the damn
county.
Disney World.
The people that live in that county, and I don't know what the makeup is, but the Republicans that live in that county coming and saying he should be doing that. Excuse me, do you not know that this affects you too? Don't you understand that this affects your pocket? Your
No, because they
property,
don't understand.
property?
They really don't
I
understand.
don't understand
They
that.
don't
Like, I don't get
understand.
that.
They don't understand that the state of Florida cannot afford to pay to do the infrastructure and the resources that Disney provide for that area. State of Florida can't do it. We have one of the lowest state unemployment rates. That's because we have all of this tourism and all that stuff. You gonna start making people don't want to come here, dude. What you gonna do?
And the
Florida don't go to the beach like that. We don't.
We don't. And the numbers are not in the millions. They're in the billions. So let me just make that clear. Right? It's not no 100 million or 200 million dollars. We're talking about $billion business that you trying to put. You're gonna bankrupt us all. And my point, the point I have is that one of the things you said before he decided he was like, listen, he got to run for the entire country. He's not running for just one state. And my thing is that you people need to understand that we all collectively need to work together to make this happen, right? That electoral college, whether you agree with how they do things or not, that is a major issue. Okay, and then moving into locally, we will look at some candidates and see who's up for re-election in 2024 because there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
but
all of the constitutional offices are up in 24. That state attorney, the sheriff, public defender, clerk of the court, supervisor election, Ms. Bynes, all of those offices are up in Broward County. And if you're in Miami-Dade is about to have a sheriff for the first time. So there's going to be a sheriff race in Miami-Dade County. The House of Representative members, that means Debbie Wasserman Shows, Jared Moskowitz, Sheila Sheffield McCormick, they're also up in 24. All of those are 2-year seats. Those are 2-year seats. So the senators are 6. So Rubio was up last in 22. Yes. Now Rick Scott, who's the other senator from the state of Florida, is up in 24. So his seat is up in 24. The governor, we just got that person. So his seat isn't up until 26. But if he runs for president, check out what he did. Before this, if you wanted to run for a different seat, you had to resign your seat in order to run. Correct. So he basically got the legislator to change that law. So he does not have to resign for his seat as governor to run for president. So just in case he doesn't make it, he can come back and be the governor of the state of Florida, right? He changed the law in order for him to keep his seat. So the governor, we're stuck with that one, but we have an opportunity to switch out Rick Scott. We're still not sure on who it is that's going to run against him. We'll have to see what that looks like. All of the constitutional offices in Broward County are up. There's going to be a new seat. We're going to have like a treasurer. I know Perry Thurston is running for that. Somebody else may have put their name out there, but all of the rep seats are up. The Senate, so we talked about the Senate seat, so it's only Rick Scott. So there's no other Senate seat. On the state Senate side, I think Osgood is good, right? Like she run again in 22, so she's there until 26. I'm not sure who the other. So Lauren Book's seat is up. Well, Lauren Book is a state senator. Did she just get hers?
No, she just got hers.
She just got hers. But so what is
Barbara Sharif
running for? She's a newly created Senate seat, or she's running for state rep?
I think she's still running for that for
the same seat.
So Lauren Book is up. I think
that's what it's something weird about that seat. She might be up or because of the map, because that was another thing that happened. They kind of did a new map in Florida. So there's some seats that are they kind of added some people have to run, some people got theirs extended. Right. So there might be another Senate seat up. So I know Dr. Barbara Sharif is running for something. We'll have her on at some point so she can go ahead and talk about that. But we'll keep talking about the seats.
But if you want to find out who's filed, you can go to the Broward Supervisor of Election website, and they'll
BrowardSOE.org.
SOE.org.
Or is it Broward Votes? Either one of them works. Broward Votes work.
I think the other one still works.
Yeah, Broward Votes work and Broward SOE works.
Right, and you can go on there and you can click on candidates. It tells you all the people who filed, and then for the constitutional, not constitutional, but for the reps, the state reps, you would have to go on the
Florida House or Florida. I think it's like
But
floridahouse.gov. Yeah,
still, Florida House,
floridahouse.gov.
but you can still get it through the Broward Supervisor of Elections website because there's a link to that, and you can see who are the reps that are running for Congress.
Okay,
So
and the other thing that we talk about is you got to pay attention to your city. So Ms.
you sure
Vines,
do.
what city you in? Because you got commissioners that are up too. Like all the commissioners rotate, right? So they're not always all up at the same time. They kind of every couple of years they're up. I live in an odd voting. So our elections were this year, so we don't have anyone in 24. So ours is in 25, but Pompano is even. So Pompano is on the even schedule. So I think at least 2 of your commission seats are going to be up. So you need to pay attention to who's running, because one of the things that we don't pay attention, a lot of times people aren't aware of, is your local elected officials. They're the most important ones. They're the ones that if that light ain't working, there's a pothole, they need to trim a tree or whatever. Those are the ones that you need to call and go to fix things that are in your city. So pay attention. We'll find out a list of the candidates in Pompano and let you know. But I think there's at least 2 of them that's up in 24 that's running either for re-election in your city. So we definitely I know Pat Williams is out of there, but she's a state rep. Patricia Williams is from that area. I think she covers that area
now. She's a
state rep, and so she'll be up in 24 also, because those seats are only 2 years, and I don't think she's termed out.
Yeah, and for those of you who are watching, it would be nice if you all can reach out to the supervisor of elections and ask, because we've already asked, and maybe we have to like go back and ask him again. But he needs to be able to put also those city elections. I think that's
on the website.
On the website. That way people can have a place to go. There's a place to dump all this information. And information is key, because many of us are not going to look into go to our city websites or whatever, because we already know about Broward SOE. So if you all have an opportunity, you can send out an email, call, or whatever, and suggest that, we all the cities.
So I'm going to plug an event that's happening tomorrow that's against one that I'm going to. But the supervisor of election, Joe Scott, is actually going to be at the interviewing with the NAACP tomorrow. So they have their monthly meeting. It's at 7:00. You can register for it online, and I think they do Facebook Live also. So they're going to be on Facebook Live. But if you want to go in on the Zoom link, you can register and they'll send it to you. But he's going to be speaking with Marsha Ellison, who's the president of the Broward NAACP, at 7:00 tomorrow night. Absolutely. I'm doing a Haitian Democratic it's not only Democrat, but there's a Haitian elected official event, how to rally up that community tomorrow at 6 in Hollywood. But the NAACP is actually interviewing Joe Scott tomorrow at 7:00. You can register, or you can watch it on Facebook Live on their NAACP for a lot of their page.
And remember to do that, and also remember that you have 10 days before to apply for your voter by mail before the election date. 10 days before the election date. That also goes for registration and all that other stuff. So please,
you have to register 29 days before the election.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Register a month before.
29, yes, a month before. But to get your voter by mail is 10 days. If you haven't done
which is not a good idea, because by the time you get it and probably send it back, it's a lot of pressure. So we recommend you always do it sooner, but you can. But the registration, you have to be registered at least 29 days before the election.
So if you haven't checked your registration, go online to do that today. If you haven't register today. I have a teenager who registered, and one thing Joe did, he did like a high school tour and got some of the kids who are going to be turning 18 to sign up or whatever.
You need to go to colleges too.
Yeah, but that's a whole different conversation. But anyway, I have a child who's turning 18 this August, so she will be eligible to vote in November of 2024. And you best believe I made sure that her stuff is ready to go. So we have to galvanize all of them. And you think your kids are not paying attention, but they are. Okay. She even had a conversation with me today. She's like, well, I don't understand. I mean, deep conversation. She's like, so he's running for president, but then we're drowning over here. Yes.
Literally drowning. People are drowning for real though.
Literally.
For real.
Literally. She talks about her school, how her school hates him. They hate the president of their school, UF. She goes to University of Florida. And you can see when we went to visit, they have.
So part of the reason why she hates the president of the University of Florida right now is because he was actually a former senator from the state of Nebraska.
Yes, he was.
He got that job because he knew DeSantis. And DeSantis rigged
what
do they call them? The people who are allowed, the board of governors for the state school system. That whole thing got messed up, and that's how we got Bill Sass, Bill Nass, whatever his name is,
Bill
from the
Sass.
University of Power. I am a proud member of Gator Nation. That decision I didn't like. So if that man gave up a Senate seat to go become the president of the University of Florida, that means that he thinks he's about to be able to get away with a whole bunch of nonsense. Okay.
Your Gator Nation don't play them games. Them
No,
kids,
we don't, because what's the guy named? The guy who was involved with the University of Virginia, Richard, whatever, right? That white supremacist guy that had caused the Tiki Torch thing at the University of Virginia. He came to speak at UF. That man he left with his tail between his legs. They were like, oh, because right, we're all First Amendment people.
Right.
Everyone have their right to speak, whether or not it's a popular opinion or not.
Correct.
So they were like, first of all, the president at that time was like, hell no, he ain't finna come over here with that nonsense. We don't win another Charlottesville here. But then they was like, no, he has a First Amendment right to speak. And they was like, you know what, we're right. You're right. He do have a First Amendment right to speak. So homeboy brought himself over there. He was gone in less than 10 minutes. They booed him down and he had to leave. So whatever he thought, they was like, well, we gonna allow you to speak, but we ain't gotta listen, right?
Well, Sass, the president of UF, was having a thing when he just came in or whatever. And them kids was like, oh no. So what you
He's not gonna be happy.
He couldn't even
be fun for him.
He's the president of the school. He couldn't even stay in the moon. They
ain't gonna be fun.
Them kids gonna be fun for him. So no, we don't care.
He might not last.
Let me tell you,
it's gonna be a nice, unpleasant experience for him.
And there's flyers everywhere with DeSantis' face, with a thing, and his face together. Like there's flyers where these kids. When I say those students they want the smoke, they want all of it.
Right, because Alachua County ain't like the rest of Florida. Alachua is different. You know what I mean? It might be in the middle of North Central Florida, and people might think it has that red. That is a blue. That is a sea of blue surrounded by red. Alachua County is more blue than Broward County.
It sure is.
That is facts.
Just if you just don't know, you think, listen, I did not feel uncomfortable when I was over there. It is
dark blue. Alachua County is dark blue. Okay, so Bill Sass, you might have made a mistake.
all day. So listen, we are steadfast, even though we have over 200 bills that are nonsense. No, let me take that back. Some of them are okay. Let me take that back. Some of them, they, we gotta take the good with the bad.
All right, that's right. Because Rep Chris, what was the name? Chris Benjamin said 85% of them were bipartisan and they were okay, but the 15% that was trash is
it can make a significant difference. It can make a significant difference if you don't pay attention. So for those who are deciding what the penalties carry, please be careful and use caution.
Don't talk to them people. Let them get away with it. Bye, y'all.
Okay.
Be great. Choose joy.
The teachers who are teaching or whatever, I know you all know what y'all need to do.
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Mind your business.
Head down and try to teach these babies as best you can, okay? Until we get some new people up in there in this thing. Now, we may
Which
not...
we can do, because we don't got to live like this, y'all.
We don't.
We don't.
We don't, okay?
We don't.
Let me tell you something. A lot of people's like, how y'all do it in Florida? I know. I ain't got to live like that. So... that's how I know how I'm doing it in Florida.
Yeah, it was for the weather at one point, but it was 102 degrees when I got in my car today. I was like,
did you
102? It was hot in there.
Listen.
Yeah, so
when they said they had that heat, what is it with the heat? Something with the other day was like some heat something. I was like, oh Jesus. I told you I was supposed to go to the woke thing and I couldn't go. You know why? Because it was so hot. My AC broke.
Oh, wow.
With the AC man all day trying to fix the AC. He was like, it was overworking. It's just so hot outside. I said, well, Lord. So when you talk about what's that, the thing, the DeSantis doesn't believe in global warming, climate change, all that stuff. It's happening. I'm gonna tell you how, because I am a ridiculous person and I know it, right? And I own my ridiculousness sometimes, but I'm ridiculous in a good way. So I was traveling to Orlando, and of course, the whole laundry thing. I forgot to wash some stuff before I left, right? And so I had to get on the road because it's 3.5 hours no matter what time you start. Right. So my clothes didn't dry well. So you know what Sandra did? Sandra hung the clothes out in the back seat of the car and they would dry by the time I got to Orlando. That's how hot it was. What? It was that hot. It was. Listen, the clothes was dry by the time I got to. That's how hot it was. It was the mirror, the sun on the glass heated up. The clothes was dry. I'm telling you, I'm not surprised. So it's hot, y'all. It's hot.
I'm sure I probably could have fried some eggs out there too. I'm telling you, it was hot. My clothes got dry in the car.
The AC is only 7, 8 years old. The thing was like, I can't do this. I can't help y'all. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Just shut down on me, and I had to replace the one outside and the one inside because they tore up from the flow up because of the heat. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
It's hot. It's hot. It's hot.
All right, so we'll see you all next week.
Next week. Yep.
Yeah, I hope
that's right after 4th of July. Yeah, I think July.
Well, right after the laws change.
And we'll see how week 1 is.
Pray.
We'll see if he calls a special session. Like he might have to call a special session. I don't know, because they don't go back to legislate again until January of 2024.
Yep.
So maybe they'll call a special.
But you also said that there's some litigation going on. So
there's litigation on everything. It's like that. Cases will be filed. Saturday, 12:01 a.m.
The briefs are already ready. They just need.
They're ready. With a whole bunch of people signing on. On the briefs too. Yeah, they hot. They ready.
Listen, it is what it is. When you have somebody who doesn't.
Because construction companies, ag workers, all of them, they're like, yo, where my employees gonna come from, y'all? Listen, I'm telling you, y'all. Listen, the farmers follow along too. The construction, they're stressing. They're stressing because who going on that roof, man? Who going on that roof? Who about to be outside in that heat?
Yeah, that's the governor, and that's where
those companies, and so the major companies they do like this because they subcontract out the work, right? So they're like, well, if the subcontractor hired illegal, it ain't on us, right? So they subcontract out the work, but they know it's a whole bunch of illegals, undocumented, that are doing that work, and they are stressing out. It ain't even gonna be a matter like, oh, we're willing to pay more. They ain't gonna find nobody to do it.
Let me tell you something. The states that try to come for the immigrants that don't have their papers yet or whatever, you saw how they didn't.
You saw what happened in Arizona. Arizona was like, what?
What about Texas? They were like, see, what we're not gonna do is touch that. We're not gonna touch that. Okay, we don't want no problem. We want them problems. No. So I'm just saying, Governor DeSantis has made Florida very hostile.
Yeah, and even some of the Republicans who voted for this immigration bill, and a couple others. They're trying to they're basically telling Miami-Dade County, the Cubans in Miami-Dade, oh, they're not going to enforce that. I'm like, so you saying they're not going to enforce the law? So you voted for a law that there's nobody that people aren't going to enforce. So like, yeah, because they know it's bad. They're like, they're not going to enforce it though. If you're not going to enforce it, then it shouldn't be a law.
And that's what makes it worse. You see how these people are voted in to do the people's will? You see that? And then instead of them really coming and saying, even when you're supposed to, what did you say? They're supposed to have a conscience. But what you said, Sandra, one time they said we didn't elect you to. We didn't.
Yeah. Oh, that's what the Republicans said. We didn't elect you to vote your conscience. We elected you to fall in line. That's what the Republicans said about an elected, because it was something he was like that was during the Trump the impeachment, and the guy was like, I can't support that. And that dude was like, we didn't ask you to vote your conscience. So a lot of those people, the RNC, like wouldn't support them in their next runs and everything like that.
And that goes to show you that when you're electing people, that's the problem. That's the problem that I want people to see. They're not here to do what's right for you.
And most of them haven't read that bill. Most
at
of them
all.
That voted, they didn't read that bill. They don't know what
they just voted.
About. They just know that, okay, some Republican put it up and we're going to all vote for it. That is not okay. That is not okay. That is not okay. That's why they're like, well, they ain't going to enforce it. They're like, well, you shouldn't have voted for it if you didn't think they were going to enforce it.
Well, you know, they have to keep their base happy. So don't worry about it. It won't affect you. But what about the laws that
say? Don't worry about it because it's the law. You know what I'm saying? So you can't tell me that, because remember, with contracts, you can't amend a written contract verbally. You got to write it down. So if they ain't going to enforce it, then y'all need to write that down too. That it ain't going to be enforced.
What you lawyers say? The four corners of the contract.
Four corners of the. You cannot amend a written contract verbally, please. You got to write that down too.
Okay, so you don't tell people that they're not going to enforce it. Anyhow,
all right, folks, thank you for hanging in there.
Much information.
My PLTI sister showed up again today.
It did in full force. I
think we're gonna be crocheting or something on Saturday. I think we got another event PLTI. We're gonna be knitting, crocheting, or doing something. I heard.
Well,
So I'll see some of y'all
crochet
on
me a
Saturday.
little beanie. I like beanies, so crochet me a
I
beanie.
don't know what we're gonna be doing. Something. It's something crafty. I heard it's
Good.
something
I
crafty.
love crafty. I love crafty.
Bye
All
bye.
right, so it was fun. We'll see y'all next week. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes with the new bills. Hold steadfast. Run to the ballot.
Everybody be safe, and we don't gotta. It ain't the. We won't become the Wild Wild West. I don't want to
No, we
hear
won't.
no tragedies.
I'm gonna put the positive energy out there. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna
People
be
gonna maintain their grace and their mercy and their favor.
There you go. That's what we're gonna
All right.
do. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.